Campaign season is upon us as candidates file paperwork to appear on your ballot. Our Wisconsin State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson spoke to both state party chairs as the race for governor ramps up.
7 Democrats and Republicans Tom Tiffany and Andy Mansky have filed to appear on your ballot for the gubernatorial election.
There is very much the opportunity for more consolidation as candidates drop out and narrow the field. That would make it more manageable for the voter.
Democratic Party of Wisconsin Communications Director Philip Schulman says in 2018, the Democratic primary was even wider with 10 candidates.
They're talking to voters, they're making their case. And again, we have seen what happens when we do have robust primaries. They are not a bad thing in Democratic circles.
Meanwhile, Chair of the Republican Party of Wisconsin, Brian Schimming, says the GOP benefit from coalescing around just one candidate.
We're unified behind Tom Tiffany's race for governor and Eric Toney's race for attorney general. The Democrats, on the other hand, it's revenge of the B-listers.
Anthony Trugoski, associate professor of political science, says while he sees Democratic primary frontrunners starting to emerge like Francesca Hong and Mandela Barnes, it's still anyone's game.
We've got a long way to go in this primary, but the clock is starting to tick. And for those candidates who aren't quite in that top tier with Barnes and Hong, they have every opportunity to get to that top tier.
Next week, the Wisconsin Elections Commission is scheduled to meet to determine which candidates have met all of the ballot requirements. From the Wisconsin State Capitol, Vanessa Kelson.
According to a Wisconsin Elections Commission report released just an hour ago, Democratic contender and Minocqua Brewing Company owner Kirk Bangstad only submitted 1,504 valid signatures, which is under the required 2,000 signature threshold to appear on the ballot.